the big bad of the darkness is us. We typically rely on when we started getting into angels, particularly, and really twisting the Bible and all that stuff. And now we're sort of, it started at the end of the season when we're sort of well, what if we started going to this great unknown where everyone considers that the Earth came out of nothing, and what if it was something? And that something is obviously the darkness, and what the boys are going to, and frankly not just the boys, but angels and demons as well, are going to realize that with the return of the darkness, they are stepping into a matter of great unfinished business that is going to be a very big threat, and the boys are going to be right in the middle of that. So very excited to sort of, there's a lot of really cool, it's a very big sort of idea, and I wish I could tell you all the things that are very relatable about it, but I can't, but you'll see, it would be very apparent, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I don't want to spoil that. So I think we're all excited about that. I think we're excited, I always like it when the boys do something and it's not that they're held accountable, but they hold themselves accountable to it. So I think there's a great deal of a sense of we broke this, we did this, and furthermore, there's the sense of have somewhere along the way have we sort of, maybe if you really were to peel things, have we begun to save each other in spite of the greater good? Certainly, if you go to see the finale, it's and then of course doing that causes a far greater drama for the next season. But I think they are more aware than ever, and that means I think a return to, we're not going to ignore things. We need to go back to the very, very basics. It's not just hunting things, it's saving people. And there were things we did in the old days, and they did in the old days, that somewhere along the way they sort of cut corners with, as it were. And we're going to see them trying very hard not to do that. And frankly, that's a lot harder said than done. So it's going to cause a lot more complications. So I'm excited for, those are a couple of things.
How is the loss of death going to affect season 11?
To be addressed.
Okay. Fair enough.
It will to a certain extent, and we'll probably around in the first batch of episodes we'll just start to address that. But you can imagine that causes some issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've always had so many big ideas on the show. Have you ever thought about doing just a single episode where it's Sam and Dean days off? They go to the beach, they go to a baseball game, just something to kind of take them out of it and just make it about small and intimate.
It's funny you say that, because some of my favorite things when I was just writing on the show were just how come you never see Dean come? They've been in all these motels, and how come you never seen Dean coming back from a swim in a motel pool? You know what I mean, right? To that end, we are actually addressing just that, and we are doing an entire episode in the Impala, and that's going to be episode 4, and it's going to touch on a lot of that, what happened in the moment when they agree to take a case, and normally you cut to whatever in Nebraska, and they're walking in. What if you stayed in the Impala for another 5 minutes and saw what do they talk about then? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And of course, there's a story, and a really fun story, but we are directly addressing that because we all have a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a really special episode.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's
first.
All right.
Yeah, she's got a list.
What has Supernatural not explored? Themes, myths, monsters that you'd like to see?
That I personally would like to see?
Well,
we've talked about the Kraken so much. Why haven't we seen it? You know what I mean? Why hasn't it come out? No, I think Supernatural, the nice thing about Supernatural in terms of themes and things like that is the themes tend to be very simple, I would say, but also very universal, which I think what's made, so it becomes about family, it becomes about saving your brother, it becomes about, even something as simple as saving the world. It sounds very simple in 1 or 2 lines, but it can also be very deep and take you down a lot of different paths. So that's always been a lot of fun for us. It's not so much that the themes change, but the explorations of the themes change.
What excites you the most about the premiere episode?
I think what excites me the most is just, we're doing something we haven't done in a long time. Is we're picking basically right off the end of season 10. The other thing is we're showing, we're taking some time in the first 2 episodes to really show the after effects of what happened. And it's not just a monster roll. Sam and Dean. A lot of times, Sam and Dean will roll through a town, kill a monster, roll on. But this thing with the darkness was so big that even right where that cloud rolls over people, like it creates, without giving too much away, it creates a problem that's going to take them multiple episodes to solve. And so that's really interesting for us because it's just something we don't really do. And then later in the season, there's also something where they're spending time, basically 2 episodes kind of in one place. And it creates a level of serialization, even though they're one-shot episodes, a level of serialization we don't do a lot of. But it's actually been very cool to kind of build in that way.
So there's another episode besides the Impala episode?
There is an episode. There's an episode later on where basically Sam and Dean will spend 2 episodes in the same location, building off the same case essentially, and that's toward the end of our first half of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how far ahead do you plan this? I mean, obviously, season 1, you're not thinking about season 10.
Sure.
So it's season 11. Are you start thinking about season 12?
I think you're thinking of ways where you're like, okay, here's the story we want to tell. If we have to tell it in one season, here's how we can tell it. If we have the opportunity to tell it in more than one season, here's the way we could do it. But I don't think it's a case where you go in and you're like, we definitely need 27 episodes to finish this out, because the truth of the matter is you just don't know. The other truth of the matter is story tends to be a very flexible thing anyway. And so, you can front load things, you can back load things, you can put things off. But I will say, we've had the great luxury in the past few years, once fall, winter rolls around, to kind of have some idea, at least if we're coming back, and can start making plans at that point. Okay, so we know where we're going. We got the end of the season. Do we want to take a little bit of that and push it forward and make that a driving force for the next season? Do we want to wrap it all up and start something new? And that's been really fun.
What's your favorite theme of the new season?
Favorite theme? Yeah. One thing we kind of bat around the writer's room is basically you can't escape your past. And I think we're bringing some things in from the boys' past. Some very distant, some much more recent, that we haven't dealt with in a long time. But I think we'll have some really interesting repercussions for both guys. Yes, there will be flashbacks. There will be in a lot of different ways and a lot of different levels. Yes.
Awesome.
You mentioned the past of boys. Jeffrey Dean Morgan being very vocal lately about coming back.
Yes.
Where are we? Is there any chance? Are you guys?
Oh, there's always a chance. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he carries such weight for the show. To me, it's not if he comes back, it's what's the right time, when it's going to be for maximal impact. What you don't want to do is bring a character like that back, and waste the opportunity.
Sure.
So for us, it's just about finding that opportunity.
Is there any rock?
Plays such an important role in the show. Is there any song this season that you were just like, spend the money on it? I just need this song.
We haven't really got to that point. I wrote one script. I have one song in that I know we'll never get, but sometimes you just put it in there just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yep.
Anything with Charlie?
Anything with Charlie? On Charlie and her possible return, I will plead the fifth.
Okay.
But I will say that certainly that character is never far from our minds.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.